In this demo, we will add support for authenticated APIs. First of all, let's ensure that our API requires authentication again by uncommenting the authorize attributes. There we go. What we need to do is add a security definition. Let's open our program file. And here where we called into add swagger_gen, we can define security definition by calling into add security definition. We first pass through a name for this definition. We can choose this, so let's say city info API bearer out. The second parameter is of type OpenAPI security scheme. That's defined in Microsoft.openapi.models, so let's add a using statement. This OpenAPI security scheme is the same regardless of the type, but depending on the type, different options have to be set. For basic authentication, we have to pass through the type security scheme type.http, and the scheme is bearer. We learned that on the slides. Be careful, this is case sensitive. And we also pass through a description. Let's give this a try. Let's open the specification. If we scroll down, we see the new security scheme showing up, as expected. Looking at our documentation UI, which is generated from this spec, we see that an authentication button has been added. Let's click that, and there we go. We can input a token here. Let's get a token. We can use Postman for that. Here's our token. Let's copy this. And let's input it here. Let's click authorize. That seems to be okay. Let's click close. And let's try getting the cities. Pass through a version. We make sure the accept header has a valid value and we click execute. And we get back a 401. That's not good. What's happening here is that even though we provided a valid token, it isn't automatically sent as authorization header in a request by our documentation UI. To ensure it is, we must mark the operation in the OpenAPI spec as one that requires authentication. Let's do that. We're back in our program class. On the setup action, we can now call into add security requirement. This expects an OpenAPI security requirement object. That's in fact a dictionary with an OpenAPI security scheme as key. What's special about this is that we actually want to reference the OpenAPI security scheme we used when we added a security definition. We can do that by passing through a reference object. That's of type OpenAPI reference. We reference a security scheme with ID city info API bearer out. That matches our previously added definition. The value of the dictionary item is a list of string. This is used when working with tokens and scopes, but we don't have that for basic out, so in our case we can just pass through an empty list. Let's give that another try. We're looking at our documentation again. Previously, we got a token via Postman. This time, let's try getting one using the documentation. So we click try it out. In a real-life scenario, you would pass through a username and password here. The request body is application.json, of course. We accept application.json as well, and we click execute. And there we go. Here's our token. Let's copy this. We click the authorize button, pass through the token, and we click authorize. So far for that. Now let's try getting the cities again. Version 1, why not? Accept application.json, and let's click execute. And there we go, we get back the cities list after an authenticated call.